being live is just the major trick because there's no editing. You can't just pause and say do over or 3, 2, 1 it, you know, something like that we do on this show quite a bit.
Then there's a button for advanced options, and you go in there, and that's where you can maybe tag a location, or then also you'll see insert alt text. So you can go in there and put the alt text in, hit done, and then hit post, and the alt text will post right with it instead of you having to go back and add it later.
Ed, you say that device is lightning fast, correct?
Yeah, it's very fast. It's, like I said, it's got the A13 chip. It also has 3 gigabytes of RAM. The new basic model iPhone 12 is going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM. The 12 Pro will have the 6 gigabytes. Yeah, these things are just getting, faster and faster.
And it'll be great for self-distancing as well.
Self-distancing?
Keeping away from yourself.
You distance yourself from yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly, self-distancing.
Brian, sometimes you have to get out of the way of yourself.
That's true. Wherever you go, there you are.
So people, go get a camper, put yourself in the woods, beware of the bears, and practice.
3.
2.
Anybody want the 1?
1.
Welcome back to That Blind Tech Show. We've got the whole gang here today, and we'll mix it up a little and not insult anybody with any supersized stuff. Ed, how have you been?
I've been good, Brian. I'm actually doing much better now. It's things have been settling down here at the house. You guys know, but we've had some health situations between my parents, and then there was a surgery for a member of my household as well. So it's been an interesting few weeks, but everything's getting back to normal, and I'm feeling good.
Ed, I'm really annoyed at you.
Why is that?
I haven't finished episode 1 of the Plumachers, so you just spoiler alert and everything. Now I know what's going on.
I gave you the ending. Oh, sorry
I'm not
about
up to
that.
the surgery yet. I'm not up to the surgery episode. Great to hear that everybody's doing well. And coming to us from a remote location in the Witness Protection Program, not the typical Minnesota bunker, Jeff Thompson. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Brian. Coming to you live from northern Wisconsin, the good Minnesota, as you so well put it.
That's true. Now, if you get attacked by a bear during the podcast, will you please leave that in and not edit it out and everything? Because I think it'd be kind of interesting for the listeners to hear. So we'll get into where Jeff is a little later into the show.
I'll let it go 3 rounds, but then we got to get back on with the show.
That's true. That's true. We need to stay on focus more often.
But won't you have your bell?
I go until the bell.
Last time you said you had a bear bell.
Oh, I thought he said belt.
I thought it was a bell.
Bell, Brian, bell.
I thought you said belt, like you were going to win the title.
I think we need more cowbell.
You always need more cowbell.
Bear
Great.
bell. We need more bear bell.
Do you know what more cowbell means, Jeff?
Brian, I thought we were doing a show.
Okay.
Welcome to That Blind Tech Show.
Serena Gilbert coming to us live. Well, tape delayed to you and edited eventually. But Serena, how have you been?
I've been great. But we were live really recently in our Facebook group. So
That's true. And we will get to that. Haven't you read the outline, Serena?
No, because, apparently I'm unprepared.
You are.
I actually did read the whole entire outline.
You will have to
I was just planting seeds, Brian. Planting seeds.
I got the outline for this show. I thought it was one of Ed's books that he just read.
Serena, you have to stay after the podcast and write on the blackboard 50 times. I will not jump ahead in the outline, okay? I just want you to know that.
Well, I will. I'm sure you will be able to observe that I did that. So trust that I did it.
You're showing your age, Brian. You're calling it a blackboard.
That's true. It's funny, Ed, because my aunt, her husband will not allow a A-Lady device or any smart speaker in the household. And this first article we'll put in the show notes. Thanks to technology and costs coming down, using a smart speaker is not the only way to spy on somebody these days anymore.
Why is it that you're up on that?
Really, Brian?
I find espionage fascinating, Ed.
Huh.
So, Brian, you do have to explain the article.
I thought Ed was going to explain it. I was leading him in.
Oh, you're leading me in.
I guess you did a great job there, Brian.
Amazing.
Wow. He's like a shoehorn.
I don't have to introduce every article.
No.
You do have to give them a safe place to do it.
So, Ed, explain this light bulb conspiracy.
Yeah, so the light bulb conspiracy. So Brian sent this article, and I did read it. It was kind of interesting, is that how they're using sound waves and how they affect lighting in rooms or in environments to be able to decipher audio signals and then break it down into sound and record it. With a telescope and the proper light measuring software, they can break down and detect songs. I think they were able to pick up a Beatles song, and I think they did a presidential speech, and were able to decode that as well. So really interesting stuff. How for less than $1,000 you can spy on somebody a few hundred feet away or a few hundred meters away.
Yeah, but the cool thing is, if you're like me and you sit in the dark, Jeff, you have to have your lights on for people to spy on you. So will this lead you in the future to sit in the dark like me, or are you just going to roll with the lights like it's 2019?
I think with everything that's going on, I'm on the internet. I have all sorts of devices and stuff. I think I've given up on trying to be so protective of Big Brother. I mean, look at your Amazon devices, your Google devices, everything. Brian, you sent out a thing. You can't even say which is your favorite because you had set off 15 devices in your apartment.
15,000.
All right. I lowballed
because that's an accurate number. Yeah.
That's an accurate number. Mm-hmm. Serena, you've got sighted folks, so keeping the lights off all the time in your house is not an option. What are your thoughts, moreover, though, on privacy these days? Are you really concerned, or are you like, there's nothing that I really need to hide?
Well, and it's kind of ironic. I'm the one that's always turning the lights on because I do have some usable vision. So I'm always the one that's turning the lights off. My husband's the one always turning them off. But I feel like as long as you keep your curtains or your blinds closed while your lights are on, which most people do, because if it's dark and you have your lights on, then everyone can see everything in your house if you leave the blinds open. I feel like you'll be all right. But I kind of agree with Jeff, too. Like, we have every smart device I think that we could have in this house at this point.
Known to mankind.
What about womankind?
Ooh, good point. Good point.
Yeah, but Brian, I thought you kept your lights off, Brian, because in your old apartment in your other neighborhood, didn't your neighbors complain because you walk around naked all the time?
Whoa.
Well, I haven't stopped that. I just now overlook an alley, so the alley cats are now complaining about it and everything. But.
And Brian, how do you know your lights are still off? Because, we made you turn them on when we were on Facebook Live, so you might not have even turned them off.
I actually, like you, have some residual vision, so I can tell if the lights are on and everything. That's why I have the shades shut and the lights off, because I have light sensitivity issues. So I can tell if there's a TV on. I just can't make anything out on that TV. But yeah, everybody's an open book nowadays. You guys hear me on the podcast. I never say anything inappropriate, so I don't have to worry about anything going out there.
Insert eye roll.
Hashtag. Do they have a emoji for that, Serena, an eye roll?
They do. I send it to you all the time.
Oh.
It's called sigh.
No, it's literally face with rolling eyes.
Ed, you write that to me all the time.
I know. I make up better emojis when I write them.
So as Serena hinted at, we have now been live on the internet, on the Facebook and everything. And it was a good experience. I don't know if Serena discovered streaming. Why don't you tell the listeners about our Facebook Live experience was like and when we'll be doing it next?
Give credit where credit is due. Mr. Thompson did not discover streaming.
Thanks, Jeff. That was awesome.
I discovered America.
Oh, because you are that old, so.
America.
Ouch.
You walked right into that, Jeff. Come on.
Mm-hmm. I'm blind. Come on, give me a break.
Well, where's your white cane?
Jeff, you got to make sure those bears close all the cabinet doors. It'll be a more enjoyable experience.
I just hate it because all the bears up here were trained by a trainer with a white stick, so I ain't going out.
It's a little dangerous. But back to the original subject. Somebody had mentioned actually in one of the assistive technology groups that streaming was accessible to be able to live stream to Facebook. So I figured I'd give it a try. And I think it's a really good experience overall. There's some downfalls to the way that we did it because we were doing it to a private Facebook group. So when people comment, I can't see exactly who made the comment. I can only see that it was a Facebook user. And that's because of limitations on the Facebook side. And then the other thing that I've discovered that's a little bit harder to do is when I schedule the live stream and I go to pick the date, I do have to change my cursor type to be able to click on it and then click the date because it's some weird calendar pop-out thing that, as we all know, sometimes doesn't work very well with a screen reader. But I feel like that's pretty minor. That's the only thing that I can't do completely the normal way.
Serena?
Jeffrey?
I got a question for you. Sorry. When you switch the cursor type, you're talking about you're using a PC, so you're using JAWS.
Yeah, so I have to switch from the virtual PC cursor to the JAWS cursor to simulate exploring the screen as though you're using a mouse to be able to click the date to pick and then the specific day of the week. Like if I want to pick, Tuesday the 23rd or something like that, then I have to be able to explore a little bit. So there's workarounds.
Is that how you got the actual day of the week wrong for us the first time we did it?
We all three got the day of the week wrong that time. Because we all were like, yep, that's the 10th. And no, you'd think between the three of us, we would have figured it out.
Next time we'll have to have tray count.
And by the way, Ed, WWDC's on Tuesday, Ed.
Stop it.
I went through that with Brian once before.
I had
That says it all right there, Brian.
time zone. I overslept it one year. We do have to mention, if you are on a Mac, you want to make sure whatever microphone, if you're like some of us and have multiple, well, everybody, if you have an external microphone, you do want to make sure you select your microphone first. Otherwise, your audio will not come through. Jeff, what were your overall thoughts of our Facebook Live experience?
Well, I think it really went good. For the first time ever doing it, Serena had her area. Brian didn't have to do anything. But then on my side, I was trying to do the music and everything. So it was just trying to get this coordinated. Left hand, I did all the punching in music and sounds and talks and stuff like that. But in the right hand, I found out I could fade it in, fade it out. And, so that'll get better with it. I think being live is just the major trick, because there's no editing. You can't just pause and say do over or 3, 2, 1 it, something like that we do on this show quite a bit. But on live, it's like, you got to buckle in and put your seatbelt on and go on for the ride. I think we did pretty good for the very first time.
Just have to roll with the flow, and if something goes wrong, you just got to keep going and not let it bother the rest of the show.
Right.
And it was fun having the interaction with the listeners and everything. That was a lot of fun. See how it goes the next time.
And Brandy sent me a message. She's from Minnesota here. She sent me a message and said, you guys are just as snarky live as you are on the show. So that must have been good. I guess that's a good thing.
It's great to hear. And Ed, the mayor, different Randy, actually posted in the Facebook group how much he was disappointed that he couldn't join us live, but he was missing what's pissing off Brian. So while Facebook won't easily or quickly allow you to view your timeline in chronological order, they are allowing you, and they've probably been doing this for a while, but we just noticed it, to potentially edit your shortcuts at the bottom of the screen. Notifications and newsfeed will always be there. But Jeff and I were playing around with this, and I'm single. For some reason, I have dating, because that's not exactly what I want to do on Facebook, in my shortcuts. But Jeff, you had some different shortcuts, and you were able to edit some of yours.
Yeah, I can go in there and edit. I don't have the option to put dating on there, so we figured kind of that they have a moral obligation to decide for us, because I am married, but I have groups and pages, but I do have a page, so that I can see why that would be on there. But then I have news. Now, I don't have today news. I have just news. And then I have, the rest of them are the same for everyone, notifications, and then your menu. But yeah, that shortcut bar down there, I asked around to other people, and Pete Lane, who's married and states he's married on Facebook, does have the dating on there. And then Serena, I think, has the today news, which is local news. So, and there's no way of going into the shortcuts. When you go into settings, you go down into privacy, you go down to the shortcut bar, and you get to choose what you want to put on there, but it's limited. Everyone doesn't have the same choices. It's random. And Brian and I checked, and we have the same exact version of Facebook, so it's a mystery to me.
Yeah, I don't have news at all.
Do you think it's an algorithm that's determining what should be there based on how you use Facebook?
I think so. I really do. It has to be, because there's no other determination. I went through all the settings and I just checked everything out. I can't find anything. Privacy and yeah.
Facebook's heard me on the podcast because I've said multiple times I never get my news from social media. So that's why it must not be offering me news as an option to put in there. And, local news was something that you thought was pretty cool. But you said lately, Jeff, you haven't been getting the local news under the news tab, right?
I've never had the local news. I just have news. And then it just gives me some news, national news, international news, stuff like that. I was wondering, and I haven't checked this out, if I went onto the web or if I went onto my computer and went to Facebook, if they give you more options to do it. But I don't even know if on Facebook, on the website, if you do have a choice of these tabs there. So maybe there you have a bigger choice to choose from. Yeah.
I never use Facebook on the web. Serena, you had news, and did you also have a Corona news tab, or was that in the news?
So I don't have a news tab. I have a Today In tab, which shows my local news and my national news. Right now, it's not really the most user-friendly as far as accessibility goes because it just kind of says button for all the different news sources and stuff. You can hit the button to read everything, but then you have to scroll through everything, national and local. And then I opted into the coronavirus news alerts. So I think that might be why I also have the coronavirus tab at the bottom. But then I also have Marketplace. Do you guys have Marketplace?
I do on my iPad, but it's not even offered. I wouldn't want it.
Yeah, I don't want it, but it's there. And then Facebook Watch used to be there, but
Watch
as we
is
know,
on my iPad also.
That's not the most user-friendly with a screen reader. Once you go into it, there's no returning back. You're just stuck in there.
I had that before, but I don't have it now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only are we all not getting the same options, it varies from device to device. Yeah. So, Ed, did you get a chance to take a look at your shortcuts or no?
No, I actually haven't opened up Facebook in over 3 weeks because everything going on. So
yeah, you may want to join the That Blind Tech Show Facebook group and up our membership.
I'm going to have to do that before the 22nd.
That's true.
Yeah, Brian didn't let him. Gosh.
I tried to ban him from the group, but, I couldn't figure it out.
Making room for that girl?
Yes, that girl.
That's why he has a dating tab.
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you have
How's
some
that
news
going?
that you need to share with us, Brian?
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
your dating app.
I looked at it for 2 seconds, and it did not seem to be
That's
very
all it
accessible.
took?
Yeah.
Just one look.
I keep getting notifications that so-and-so liked you on dating, but there's not a lot of information.
He's not very picky. A girl's name popped up. He said, that's it.
Yeah, but it was Randy, and I was like, is it Randy with an I or a Y? So hey, not that there's anything wrong with it. But Jeff, you and I also had some interesting issues because we both post to That Blind Tech Show. You post to Blind Abilities, and I noticed when you posted our latest episode had come out that I was flicking to the left, and you could tell on the iPhone when you land on something and VoiceOver's not picking it up because I was reading posts from other people in the Blind Abilities group, but then I landed on what I assumed was the most recent post, and it was just empty space to me. So we kind of figured out this bug that seems to be going on. I believe it's in Facebook groups only posting a link, but you did find a pretty useful workaround.
Yeah, I did find a workaround. It kind of goes through Twitter, though, but it's not the best workaround in the world. But if you tweet something out and you want to share it to Facebook, you can go down and go to Facebook and post it that way. The other thing that I noticed is if anyone's ever used stories in Facebook, I think it's it's not very useful for me because it really doesn't interact too well at all. I don't get the information out of it. And that's how it was reacting. It was like hidden. Sometimes my iPhone would say, it might say, and then it would start reading bits and pieces of the post. So that was really weird. So I had to delete those and then I went around it. But there just was a new update lately and I have not tested that out yet again.
Same behavior. Serena, you post in a lot of groups as well. Have you noticed this issue with links being attached to anything and VoiceOver not necessarily picking it up?
Well, I can't figure out the rhyme or reason to it. From my testing, because it's happened to me multiple times, it's when the link originated in Facebook. Maybe you clicked on a news article and read it in the Facebook browser, and then we're like, oh, I'm going to share this. Or if you shared it from another Facebook post, like a Facebook page maybe posted it, and then you wanted to share it. It seems like that seems to be the culprit, because I've tested it and I've copy-pasted links in there and posted them, and they post fine. I've shared from Safari and done it through the Facebook and it comes through just fine. It seems like it's something wrong with sharing directly from Facebook.
Yeah, I would say there's something there too, but it didn't work even though I got it straight from my uploads when I posted the podcast. It worked that way. The other thing workaround is I did go in on my Mac. I was able to go to Facebook and then go in and go to the group and do a post, and it works perfectly fine there. It's just that it's a little more cumbersome.
So it sounds like an iOS app issue.
Right.
I miss the days when you'd be able to use share on the Mac and post to Facebook and everything, but they got rid of that a long time ago and everything. Serena, Instagram. We don't spend a lot of time on Instagram because obviously it's a very visual app, but Facebook obviously owns Instagram, and you've been spending more time on it these days.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Instagram might not be very useful for them, but you would be surprised how much of the blindness community and blindness organizations are actually on Instagram and posting things with alt text on them. And Instagram's alt text was working way better than Facebook's alt text was before Facebook finally adjusted their their OCR settings on it. And a lot of the images, like I follow mostly other blind people, blind organizations and things like that. And I actually really like it because you can quickly just scroll through it. It reads you, it'll try to do the alt text on the picture if there isn't any. But a lot of people put the alt text in their captions now too. And it's just another way to connect with people. And honestly, if you have a business or anything like that or a network that you want to grow, I think it's easier to grow an Instagram page than a Facebook page.
It is. I got involved in it when I started playing blind hockey because a lot of the blind hockey organizations across Canada and the United States were on there. And I'm already up to 735 followers, and I started it in probably January. It's very active, and it seems like the people that are on there are quick, fast. Facebook, you can dive into it and you don't know where you're going because you got so much stuff there. But Instagram is boom, boom, boom. I like it. The alt text works and all that. It's just, if you're not used to it, it's just something that you actually have to go up north, get in a camper and buckle down and learn how to do it.
A lot of the younger people I have 5 children, 30, 32 and younger, and they're all Instagram users and a lot less Facebook.
Is that so dad can't see what they're doing?
Yeah, for real.
I have an Instagram account, but I don't do much on it.
Well, and the nice thing about Instagram too is, and I don't know why Facebook can't get this right, but you can post the alt text to your picture before you actually hit post.
Exactly.
And that's the nice thing about it too, where if I have like a quote picture I want to share, I don't have to do this acrobat to get the alt text in there and hope that nobody saw it before I get it in there.
Serena, so say you go into your Instagram app on your iPhone, correct? Mm-hmm. You're going to do a new post. Mm-hmm. Can you go through the steps of that?
So I believe it's the second tab in that says camera. And that's where you actually would start a new post from. And by default, it'll select the most recent picture that you took, but you can change that out. And then it'll ask you if you want to do any filters. I never do because I don't know what those actually do. And then you'll hit next. And then it'll ask you to write the caption. You can write whatever you want. That's also where you put all the hashtags, which on Instagram, hashtags are very, very important. That's how other people connect with you. And then there's a button for advanced options and you go in there and that's where you can maybe tag a location, or then also you'll see, I think it just says like insert alt text or something like that. So you can go in there and put the alt text in, hit done, and then hit post, and the alt text will post right with it instead of you having to go back and add it later.
Like you have to do on Facebook. Yeah. So I've tried getting my mom into the habit of posting alt text for the photos she posts, but for some reason, it's not showing up to her, so I don't know what's going on there. Because as we've all discussed, non-voiceover users have gotten that alt text, so maybe my mom just can't figure it out, which would be nice because she posts family photos. So
when you put the alt text in there, Serena, is that now attached to the picture in your camera roll, or it's only uploaded with the picture to Instagram?
It's only uploaded with the picture to Instagram.
Okay.
I do like that point that it defaults to the last picture, because typically if I'm going to post to Instagram, it's a picture that I just took, and then I do it. And that gives you a good recollection where it will be.
Oh, to be quicker too, when that bear comes at you, you take that picture, it's right there. You don't have to worry about looking through them.
Yeah, because that's what I'll be doing when I'm running away.
Do it live.
I know if you fall with the Apple Watch on, it could call 911. What if you're being eaten by a bear, Jeff? Can you test that out for us? We'll call 911. Navilens. Ed, you brought this to my attention. At first, I misunderstood what it was, but it sounds really cool as they're testing this out. They have Navilens and Navilens Go. Go is more an augmented reality feature for the sighted world, but it's being tested out in at least one New York City subway stop. Not that I'll ever be on the subway ever again, but it sounds pretty cool because what it does is they put up a ton of different, is it barcodes, Ed, that they're putting up?
They're colored QR codes, and they're usually embedded, I think, with the signage, but the device actually searches for these as you're walking along. So you would hold your phone in front of you, similar to like if you were using Ira or Be My Eyes, and scanning in front of you as you're moving around, and it would actually pick up these QR codes on the different pillars or on signs and things like that, and convey that information to you.
Yeah, this, I guess, a further evolution of indoor navigation, but it sounds like it works pretty well. And I guess if it goes well, Ed, they plan to roll it out in the entire New York City subway system?
Well, we'll see. It is testing. It's I think we looked at it. What did we see? 2 reviews on the one app and 5 reviews on the other app. So it's fairly new. We haven't seen a lot of information about it. It just came up in a technology forum meeting I had the other day, and so I checked it out, and I said, it looks very interesting. I like it too because you can come up with, if you could just print print these colored QR codes. You can print them on labels and put them around even inside a building. And if it, you don't have to worry about doing these low energy Bluetooth, transponders for information and things like that. We have to worry about battery life in the future and stuff. And you could probably replace them with new information on a regular basis if you did like a label type format.
Well, they could also, the old biplanes, when they pull those banners and fly over state fairs, they could put some on there so we would know what they're skywriting,
That would be interesting.
If they could get those little, I have a lanyard that I used when I use Ira sometimes that I put my phone in. So if they could get all the bears to wear a lanyard out where Jeff is and have a QR code attached to that might be kind of helpful for you, wouldn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, it's like, finding Waldo. Are they going to have augmented to help us find Waldo in those little cartoon things, or word search? That would be kind of cool.
What was that game where people were jumping on they had to put signs in the subway, do not go on the subway?
Pokemon Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
A useful version. This is kind of a useful version of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, one of the most downloaded apps I think they downloaded 50 million applications in the first 4 to 6 weeks that it was out.
And they had to put signs on the subway, do not go on the tracks to get your Pokemon. It's morons. That's more on the one word, Jeff, not two. But Jeff, you're roughing it, man. Talk about just how cool technology and how mobile it's gotten. Why don't you tell the listeners, because we do get from time to time get people that may want to get into the podcast game, but you're out there in your camper in the middle, like we've discussed, the good Minnesota, Wisconsin, recording live with us, which will be tape delayed for the listeners.
Yeah, I'm up here in northern Wisconsin. I'm in a 27-foot trailer with a jet out, but I brought up my recording studio. This is one that I'll bring to conventions and have brought to conventions, but it's all in one briefcase. So what I use is a mixer. I use the Q802 mixer, and that's the one Brian and Serena both have as well. So this is my travel one, and then I have either the ATR 2100 or the Samsung Q2U. They're basically the same guts, same microphone, same purpose and all that stuff. Very affordable, right around $60 for that. And we found out Ed was looking for the Q802, which is a USB mixer that has 2 channels where you can plug 2 microphones into it. Then there's 2 channels where you can plug your phone in if you want to do demos or some other type of interface with it. So you can put in a left and right just in case you want to do a demo on Soundscape or something of that nature, where Soundscape would have the left and right. Then I have a MacBook Pro, which is my computer, and then I have the cables, and then I brought my hard drive from my main computer to external hard drive, so I have access to a lot of stuff in case I need it. And then I have on my phone, I don't have Wi-Fi up here, so on my phone I'm with Verizon. I got hotspot option, so I'm hotspotting right now. So that's my whole thing. I have unlimited data, so I don't want to use it all up. Unlimited. It's not really unlimited when you really, really think about it, but 25 gigs, they'll throttle you down. So
yeah, so if Jeff's speech rate slowers later into the podcast, you know why.
Yeah. But yeah, this setup right here, and then I got a little mic stand. The only thing that didn't fit in my computer bag was the mic stand, because that has this big, heavy metal base on it and stuff. So I put that in my suitcase, but typically it all fits. It all fits right in there, and I was able to set it up here and run off the power. And I got a power strip, and that's about it, folks. And there I am. I'm podcasting, and I'm doing Skype calls, everything like that.
But you're also doing something pretty cool out there, as this is a new landscape to you, and you were using Microsoft Soundscape to create some beacons to help you navigate while you're out there.
Yeah, it's something, when Lori's up here, we had Logan as well, but Logan, a guide dog needs to go to a place a couple times before it gets the route down and figures things out. They just don't know that you want to go to the bathroom or go to the public area or whatever. So we're just going out and, exploring. So we opened up the Soundscape and we dropped a beacon right at the trailer. And then we named it the trailer. Then we went out to the road, and at that intersection comes to a T. It's all gravel road. We dropped a beacon. Then we went down to the rest area, public area, and we dropped one. And she labeled that turn left, because there's the beacon that she knows exactly where she is. I let her label it how she wanted because she'll be using it. Yeah, it's still working today. I walked down there and all of a sudden I turned it on just for the fun of it. And I turned it on and boom, boom. After you do all that stuff, you pretty much got the lay of the land anyways, but it's nice to have that security of using it. Nick D'Ambrosio up in Canada says he uses it quite a few times a week because it gives him pinpoint directions left and right. If you're going down the street and something's on the right, especially if you select a place from their mapping, it'll give you the information on the right-hand side so you'll know you have to cross over before you get to the place and all that. So you might want to use at least some type of earphone where you can still hear all the external noises, because that's the most important.
Yeah, the thing with Soundscape though too is it will give you sound or information in your left ear and or your right ear. So it can be a little tough using it in the street and things like that. So I know that they have the interface with the Bose frames, which is where your ears are open, or you could use the AirPods like you guys have, where you can bring in that external sound as well. So it's but it's good. I use it too. I mean, that's something that I've used to find staircases on subway platforms and also in the on my train platform. So it's difficult. I step off sometimes. I don't know if I'm supposed to go left or right. If I have the beacon on, it takes me right in the right direction.
Awesome.
That's great. Like I said, I've not had the greatest luck with Soundscape. I'm just curious, Jeff, since you're using it most recently, and Ed, you could chime in as well. How accurate are the beacons you're placing?
To tell you the truth, I'm talking about, I don't know how many acres up here, 3,000 acres and stuff like that. So if it's within 20 feet, that's a lot better than, but if you're in a congested area like New York, I imagine where 20 feet or 40 feet is quite important. However, here you're on a gravel road and you're just cruising. So that's why I tried it. And I know there was a gentleman that contacted me about his mailbox, lives out in the country, and it worked to actually get the right and left and get back and stuff like that. So I think it's something you'll have to explore with. Some people may like it, some people may not, and it'll work for some and not for others, but it's a neat option. It's nice to have options.
Yeah, I find it to be down to 2 or 3 meters. I mean, it's that tight for me here in suburbia. In the city can be difficult sometimes because of, it is relying on GPS coordinates, and it is, you're dealing with line of sight with buildings and things, but it does get you pretty close.
And for us here in the United States, how far is a meter?
Just under a yard.
Oh, okay, cool. So, well, to me, it's the most wonderful time of the year. No, it's not holiday season. We're only a few days away from that spectacular day we call WWDC. And even though we discussed it on the Facebook Live, not all of our listeners were on it. So we thought we'd dive a little into what's just the rumor mill right now. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors about new iMacs coming out, potentially a 23-inch iMac. Traditionally, they've had 21-inch and 27-inch. They're coming out with 72 different sizes of iPads potentially. We have no idea if this stuff is dropping 2020 or 2021. Obviously, new iPhone 12s as well, which we're going to get into. Serena, what, if any, of this hardware are you excited to hear about? And also, they may not announce any new hardware, so that could always happen as well.
Yeah, the only thing that I am looking forward to, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's time for me to get a new iPhone. So I used to be on an every other year cycle, and now I think I'm every 3 or 4 years, because they don't change much each year. So that would be what I'm most excited to hear about, and I'm guessing that'll be more in the fall. But there's always clues to what the new phones will do when people start breaking down the new code of iOS 14 and things like that, because they predicted Face ID way before Apple actually revealed it and things like that. So it'll be interesting to watch the next few months.
And Jeff, you, like me, are probably out of all of us the most in the Apple ecosystem, or as you like to call it, the orchid. What devices are you potentially hoping to hear announced?
The orchid?
At WWDC?
That's a flower.
It'd be the orchard.
Orchard.
Today's word is orchard.
Orchard.
Can you say orchard, Brian?
That's
Can
not
you
the word.
say orchard, Brian?
Orchard. Yes, I said orchard. You guys are mishearing.
No, you said orchid like
orchid.
Orchard.
Orchard.
There you go. But
Orchard.
You're saying it oddly.
It's not like Grey Poupon.
Yeah. I was like, it sounds like we're at a fine dining restaurant right now.
Can you please pass the apple orchard? So, Jeff,
I usually don't pass it. I get anything or apple.
Yeah, you keep it all to yourself. What are you looking forward to hearing announced?
I'm really excited about the iMac. I'm at that point. Mine's a 2013 Mac. It's still working pretty good, but we've debated, Brian, if we're going to reboot or swipe it clean and then rebuild it up. But I'm at that point where almost it's easy just to get a new one. I mean, might be. But I'm really looking forward to, I heard rumor has it, that they might be coming out with a new remote for the Apple TV. Now, does that mean they're coming out with a new Apple TV device?
I've heard one rumored. Yeah.
Yes, but I want the different Apple TV remote because it's just not, I don't know, it's like a popsicle stick or something, or a tongue depressor or something. It's small. They really failed on, like, when you have to go from A through Z and you got the space and the delete on each end of it. It's just cumbersome. Yes, you can dictate. Yes, you can use your phone. Yes, you can. But hey, when you buy the Apple TV, open it out of the box, I think they should have something that's like Apple spectacular, you know?
I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a new Apple TV and they announce, if you buy this, you will have a year free of Apple TV Plus. That way they keep all their subscribers. Because it'd be interesting to see over the next 2 months how many subscribers drop out of Apple TV Plus now that their 1 year is probably coming to a close. Ed, you're rocking a new SE, so you're probably not getting the new iPhone, but any other hardware that you'd like to hear announced?
Yeah, well, it's confusing because of all the different configurations and sizes of the iPads. I mean, I have an iPad Air, which looks like I will not be able to upgrade to iOS 14. So I'll be looking to probably purchase a new one. So I'm going to have to look at all the specs, sizes, and match up my requirements and needs to which one I'll choose. It's crazy. It's like when we were kids. You went into the cereal aisle, you had maybe 5 or 6 different or 8 types of different cereals. Now you go down the cereal aisle and it takes up both sides all the way down. It's getting ridiculous.
Ed, do you remember 2019 when you could go into a store and actually touch the different sizes of an iPad?
My memory is fading and fading fast.
So, well, probably the biggest rumor what Apple's getting ready to announce is the new ARM chip. And why is this significant? So actually probably more people in the blindness community, you never really hear sighted people doing this too much, but they use either boot camp or they turn their device into a virtual machine. And the ARM chip is going to be the end of this being feasible. Ed, you're running a virtual machine, so how would this affect your workflow?
Well, yeah, because I'm basically working from home. I had to configure my MacBook Pro with Windows 10, so I had to split the hard drive. I'm not actually running a virtual machine. I'm using Boot Camp to either boot up in Mac or boot up in Windows. So, but I would not be able to do that if my MacBook Pro had an ARM chip because Windows 10 will not run on ARM.
Yeah, and I actually thought about in the last few days about creating a virtual machine, and then I read all this, and I'm like, why get used to it now? Jeff, you said that you're obviously in the market for a new iMac. I'm hearing a rumor that ARM iMacs will not most likely come out till 2021, but they might release an iMac prior to any iMacs with the ARM chip. And actually, there's rumor states the very first ARM Max is probably going to be a Mac Pro. But will you get a Mac before the ARM chips come out in iMac?
I'm not really sure. Actually, my MacBook Pro right here, now that I've used it more often, and I edited the last show, I started out editing it on this one. It's really, when you're forced into using it, it's like, I like it. It's quicker. It's got the SSD hard drive in it, and it's more responsive, I think. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I was biased because I was getting something done in the woods.
I actually saw right now that it looks like most iMacs still come with a standard Fusion drive, and that's something that they will be getting rid of, thankfully.
Well, you can market yourself right out of the affordability real quick if you go in and start. I'm not interested in the Fusion drive. I want total SSD. My next one will have.
Why is that? Tell the listeners why that is.
Solid state drive does not have to spin and find it on 8 different disks or whatever the old style is. It's just as quick as your iPad starting up or your phone starting up. They use an SSD type of memory. It's just solid state. It's no moving parts, basically. So that's why a lot of it, when you retrieve something or you write something or you read something, it's just boom, boom. It's just bang. And it starts up, like I can fire this thing up within, I would say 12 seconds, 13 seconds, something like that. Boom, I'm ready to go. But, my Mac at home, sometimes it just takes a little while longer,
Yeah, and I have the Fusion drive on my iMac desktop here, obviously. And the one serious issue I ever had was one day the Fusion drive just decided to separate itself. So I went from a terabyte drive, and all of a sudden I had a 500 SSD drive gig, and then a 500 just other drive, and I had to actually, thanks to the help of people at Apple Accessibility, we got that all fixed. But it was a bizarre issue and everything. Currently, I did look, if you were to get an iMac and you wanted to get a solid state drive, I think it's an extra 200-300, it might even be 500 over their current Fusion drives.
Ed, did you have something on that?
The only thing I was going to say is that, not having a mechanical drive, you have a lot less chance of having a hard drive crash or failure as well. So solid state drives are much more reliable, and something that I wouldn't buy a computer at this point without a solid state drive.
Yeah, that's excellent advice and everything. iPhone 12, I think Serena and I are the most likely ones in the market to get an iPhone 12. I'm still rocking the 8 Plus. I believe Serena's on a 10. Are there any specs that you'd really like to see out of the iPhone 12? Size? Does that matter?
I'm not walking into that one. I was looking at some of the rumored specs, and I'm curious what the form factor is going to look like, because I hope that they're going to change it, but I don't know what else they could change. I mean, the rumors are going to be the Pros or the 12. They like kind of the higher end phones will be stainless steel, which should be nice. But the thing that caught my attention is that they're rumored to have 6 gigs of RAM. And that's a lot in a phone.
Yeah, the 12 Pro, the 12 Pro Max will have the 6 gigs, the A14 chip, and the stainless steel. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but how big is that?
What was incredible is
like 6.1.
Yeah, 6.1 in size, and then 512 gigabyte solid state drive.
Mm-hmm. We're real close to a terabyte.
So $1,399 for the top end.
Did you ever think a phone would replace a computer?
Yes.
Well, yeah, today you did, but did you think that 5-6 years ago?
I did. I thought it yesterday, but not today. Yeah, I did. So. No, that's good thought. I mean, 5-6 years ago.
Half a terabyte. I mean, you buy a stock computer from most of your, big box stores or something like that. That's what you're going to get. You might even get something smaller, but that's a good deal when you see those nice prices. That's all you're going to get. I myself, I have to go larger than that just because Dropbox, because of that, and just because of storage for doing these podcasts and stuff. However, it's just amazing what they can put into a phone. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I have to think about what size iPhone I'd really like to get. I like the size of the 8 Plus because I could still do a lot of things with one hand, flicking around with my thumb. I keep itching. You see the prices right now dropping on the 10s and 11, but I'm going to wait. And I got a funny feeling the 12 won't be coming out, hitting shelves until November, but,
I got a question, Brian. Ed just got the SE, and a friend of mine just got the SE, and they swear by it. Ed, do you see any benefit in spending more than, you may have spent $399 or $450? Why would someone want to spend $800 more?
Okay, so basically I got the 128 gigabyte phone, so it's $449. So anybody with low vision or no vision, I can't see why you would. I mean, the biggest disadvantage I see in getting the SE is it is not 5G, and everything seems to be going 5G, but I'm not so sure that we're going to have the true 5G experience for a few more years. So why would I spend $1,000 on a phone now when I can get the SE? I know it's going to last me 3 or 4 years, and then move in later.
The only reason I could think, obviously the camera on the SE is sufficient to do any kind of tasks with IRA or OCRing, which you want, the best possible camera. You don't need the high-end camera that's going to be on this device. The SE is sufficient, but sound, that's what I want. I have a loud air condition, so the 8 Plus sometimes, the sound is, I used to think it was fantastic. Sometimes when the air condition's rocking, I do have to put it closer to my head to hear voiceover, if I'm really reading and I want to pay attention to an article. And I just think the sound will be that much more fantastic on, obviously, the 12 Mac.
I really can't see 3 times the price, though, to get better sound. Typically, if I want better sound, I'm wearing my earbuds, my Bose, so I'm not too worried about it.
Well, Jeff, you sound like you're trying to talk yourself into buying the SE. Well, what are you running the 11, right?
After talking to Ed the other day, I'm pretty excited. I just don't want the cost. To me, it's $449. Done deal. It's not the photography that I need. It's not the videos I need. It's not the sound I need. I just need the functionality of it, and it's got all that.
Yeah, when I got it from AT&T too, I went to purchase it. I was going to buy it outright, and they were offering it for $15 a month for 30 months, interest free. So I'm like, why wouldn't I do that?
Well, the other consideration though too is, although you were like, I don't care about the cameras, we're forgetting like even the iPhone 11 Pro has those wide angle lenses. And Ira has confirmed that those do work significantly better, similar to what the Horizon glasses worked like, just built right into your phone. So and then yes, the camera is probably sufficient. It definitely is. But you were going to get sharper, crisper pictures with OCR with the better cameras too. And if you're going to keep your device for a really long time, it's all about preference, because I personally just have disdain for the home button. So that would make me, and I do like the slightly larger screen because I do direct touch typing, and it's a little bit harder on the smaller screen.
And as a single guy, I like to use Ira to ask them, how many wrinkles does Sandra Bullock have on her face now? No, but
and that is why you're banned from Ira.
Yeah, right.
And how many is that answer?
0. Some people age fantastically well, present company excluded. And another thing Ed and I were discussing as we were comparing his SE to my 8 Plus, which 8 Plus came out in 2017. I'm rocking the 11 chip. Ed's got the 13. So, Ed, you say that device is lightning fast, correct?
Yeah, it's very fast. It's, like I said, it's got the A13 chip. It also has 3 gigabytes of RAM, which, the new basic model iPhone 12 is going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM, and then the 12 Pro will have the 6 gigabytes. Yeah, these things are just getting faster and faster.
I'm just going to get a device for every day of the week.
I would have to say when the 4S, I was always thinking that I'd be able to record stuff. We used to have Boss Jock, and now it's Backpack Studio. I thought we could take audio and edit it and do all sorts of stuff. So I really wanted some power, some guts behind this stuff. And nowadays it's like, I know how I'm really going to use my phone. I know how I use it 90% of the time. I'm not trying to make miracles out of these special apps that are out there. So I think I'm going to be content with getting the SE. I'm sorry to say I got the 10S Max, but I don't believe I'm saying this, but I'm listening to myself.
I'm shocked. Well, and I'm curious, what's the difference in the battery power life too, though? Because that's a big consideration if you're out and about for a long period of time.
Right now, my 10S Max is down to 88%, and it's 2 years old. I got 2 months
2 years
left.
And only lost 12% of battery? That's incredible.
Well, it's down to 88
health.
Battery health. It says it can only reach the maximum of 88, which isn't bad. They say right around that 80 spot is where you should consider a new battery. Mm-hmm. I don't really need a new phone right now, so I want to see what this 12 is all about, and maybe I can make it to the next cycle.
I just picked up on, we're all very technological, and not one of us got the 11. I just realized not one of us.
Well, and because I like to get it when the form factor changes. So I know it's a weird thing, but I don't see any benefit to upgrading my phone for it to basically feel like the phone that I just had. So
yeah, that's
right.
True. That's true.
I like having the new form factor.
And like Ed mentioned, or Serena too, we're not on that 2-year cycle anymore. We're up to 3, at least 3. And
that's what I am.
I'm going to push this to 3. And that's not a bad thing because the phone is still really good.
Yeah, I have noticed on the 8 Plus sometimes voiceover seems to get a little slow, and I don't know if that's device specific or the 8 Pluses are starting to have some issues with the operating system. Only time will tell. So we may not hear anything. That'd be the greatest trick Apple pulls at all, not announcing any new hardware, so everybody's just wrong out there. But this is stuff we've been reading in a lot of the major tech blogs.
Are you saying that Tim Cook's going to come on and go, we got nothing?
We got nothing. No. He's not going to say that. He's going to say, we got no new hardware, but they will discuss iOS 14 because, after all, it is the developers conference. And
it is. Hardware is a bonus if they do mention it.
Ed, we discussed iOS 14 on our live session, so Ed was not with us. Ed, what are you hopeful to potentially see new in iOS 14 or improved?
Well, the biggest thing that I'm reading that I think I'm going to like is the listing of my apps. So if I can get in there and just looking them up by category, look them up alphabetically in a list mode, that would be fabulous because, I have so many apps I keep installed because I'm, I do instruction on iOS devices, and sometimes I download apps that have specific requirements for certain students, and I leave them on there, and it's sometimes trying to find them, and I hate always trying to use Siri to open up an app because it doesn't work all the time, so it's not there, or it got somehow downloaded into the cloud because I haven't used it for a while. So if I can get to a quick list, that'll make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's funny because that's what I said I was looking most forward to was that new list view, and a lot of times now I get all excited about the announcements and then I'm just disappointed and everything. I'm like really looking forward to something, and then it takes a little while for them maybe to get it up to speed. Serena, what are you excited about, if anything, for iOS 14?
I agree with you guys about the list view. And then, like I talked about on the live, it would be nice if they just upgraded the keyboard experience for those of us that use VoiceOver. But the thing that always happens every year is they'll announce all these like amazing new features at WWDC, and then either they never actually make it to the GM, or like when they do, they're like so glitchy and they don't work like we thought that they would.
Sign in with Apple.
I actually have been seeing that on places now where it says sign in with Apple. Yeah. I haven't used it because it's easier to hit sign in with Facebook, honestly. But
even the spam filtering for emails, which you see more on the Mac and everything, it's hit and miss. It shows up on some emails and stuff, and other times you spend 5 minutes looking for it to, click it, and it just is not there and everything.
Hey,
so,
Serena, can you finish what you were going to say about the keyboard? I'm curious.
So I'm looking for a keyboard that gives us some louder button clicks and that the autocorrect is improved. Because with direct touch typing, you rely very heavily on that autocorrect. You could completely butcher a word, but autocorrect will fix it for you. And right now, when you capitalize a word, like let's say I wanted to type Jeff, but I really butchered it, it would just leave it as though, well, she must have meant to spell it like this because she capitalized it. And I would like it for it just to autocorrect.
Right, Brian?
Yep, I may have done a text replacement.
That's affirmative.
Tell the listeners what you're using on your keyboard. There's a few different settings.
So right now I have direct touch typing turned on, and I have my verbosity set to not read the characters. I have it just to read words. And then I also have the predictive text on at the top because I use that for emoji, because you can type in heart and then at the top it'll maybe give you some hearts to choose from that are actually emojis, so it's easier to do.
What do you have to type in to get face with eyes rolling?
I actually did a text replacement for that. So on my keyboard I type ER and that because I use that emoji a lot.
And that's something you can do in your settings too under keyboard.
Yes. Yeah, on the keyboard, you can make it really powerful. Like I have some shortcuts for my email address, for different emoji that, like I have a shortcut for the guide dog emoji because I can never remember where it's at. It's really hard to find. And, if you can really master direct touch typing, you can get pretty darn fast with it, but it helps if you can hear the keyboard clicks a little bit faster because you can tell, yeah, I definitely push that. If you have autocorrect on as well as reading auto text aloud, as you're typing, it'll start trying to predict what you're saying and read aloud. So you could type in EVER and it might autocorrect it to everything.
And then you hear the word.
Yep. And then if that's the word you want, you just hit spacebar.
Yeah, because when I was using JAWS, I would do that too. I would just have the words and I was fast enough and I would just hear myself writing words, So that's interesting that you're doing that right on the phone.
It works. It takes some practice. I started with having it where it read the characters and words because then you can tell like, oh gosh, I was nowhere near that and that's why I didn't predict it. But as you get more skilled at it and practice at it, you will be able to not even have that part on. And about 85% of the time, you're going to get the word that you want.
So Serena, do you type on the keyboard? Do you type with your thumbs?
Yes.
So people, go get a camper, put yourself in the woods, beware of the bears, and practice.
I'm curious, do people not type with their thumbs?
I don't. I'm index finger.
That's probably why the direct touch typing's harder for you. I don't even know how you do it with your index finger. How do you hold your phone?
Well, then you do it landscape then?
I don't do landscape. It's too much.
I hold it underneath my chin. It's the advantage of having two chins.
Oh my goodness. I'm being serious though, because it's interesting to hear everyone's styles. I was not being facetious there, Brian. There's a word you can look up.
No, I thought you were being serious. I use direct touch typing. I hold it in my left hand, and I use my index finger most of the time. And I've been getting pretty good with this slide to type. Like I said, I like that. I am going to try this direct touch typing, though, over the next week or so.
It definitely works better if you use two thumbs.
Two thumbs and turn off characters. And because I know the layout of the keyboard, and believe it or not, I might not be able to pronounce words, but I do know how to spell. And I have to turn predictive on, so you go up, you type the word.
You don't have to have the predictive on there, but you do have to have autocorrect on, because if you do this without autocorrect, you will hate yourself.
You have autocorrect off, okay. So turn
and that might be why it's not as, because the autocorrect is the most powerful feature when you're using direct touch typing. But I only have the predictive text on because I use it for the emoji. I don't use it for the actual predictive text part. I only use it when I'm trying to find an emoji.
I have never had any luck where typing something and it gives me the emoji in predictive. I've never.
Yeah, so if you type heart but don't hit the space bar, like you spell out heart, then it'll be up there.
Just move your finger over to the right and they'll have
depending
one or
on where
two.
you're at on the screen.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that we have all these options and everything. Jeff, anything else that you'd potentially like to see out of iOS 14?
Something I mentioned, they talked about how they were going to do icons on the screen, maybe proximity or location, wherever you are or what you're doing at the time. If you show up to the gym, maybe you get different type of icons it'll really customize and personalize to where you are. So that's really interesting. I think the biggest thing that I have a problem with, if I have an app on page 9, but I want to go to it to do something, like to move it or something like that, I don't like using Siri because I never know where it is. So hunting them down is difficult for me, or it's just annoying to have to sit there and go through 11 pages of these apps. So I wish there was another way of organizing. And so this seems like they're addressing it in some way or fashion. I just want to see what kind of personalization I will be using.
And you guys can all just give a one-word answer if you want to expand on it. Do you think Siri will get any smarter or better in iOS 14? I'm going with no.
No.
I think that Apple is going to say that Siri is going to get better.
Good point.
And then we will, once again, we will be sitting here in the next time we talk about this, and Serena will say, I thought Siri already could do that. That's what I predict. I think they're going to say Siri can do all these wonderful things, which is things people thought they could already do. And then it still doesn't work right.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. I think Apple dropped the ball on Siri a long time ago, and they're just so far behind the 8 ball at this point that I just don't see anything coming out that's going to be give the wow factor.
And I'm changing my answer because I want the same answer as Serena. But you're hearing the word 5G a lot thanks to AT&T and T-Mobile, which stupidly put 5G in the status bar. And what is 5G? Why is it important? Why should we care? You're hearing a lot of people out there that might be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs who have some conspiracy theories about 5G. Don't believe any of those. But Jeff, what are your thoughts about 5G networks and the evolution? Do you think we might actually able under 5G to be able to use one of those networks at an airport without losing access to stuff?
I'm going to just repeat what Ed said earlier, that I think we're 2-3 years out from actually being able to utilize it to buy a product. Every product will have it, because it'll be available. Right now, 5G is like the wild, wild west. Every provider has different speeds. It means different things to different companies, and it is different from every company. Now, Verizon has this high band, which is based on their technology called high band millimeter wave technology. And there's some pluses and minuses with it. You can download up to 1 gigabyte a second, meaning that, Brian, you could download a whole TV series, a whole TV season in just a matter of minutes. However, the downside to this, that virtually doesn't exist indoors, and it relies on Verizon placing nodes all over for it to transmit from one to the other, but that doesn't make sense when you're going to go nationwide. They also make a low speed, but that's not much faster than LTE itself. Now you have T-Mobile and Sprint, and they all have different speeds, different types of that. But Sprint has what they call is a medium wave. And that one seems to have good coverage. Whereas the Verizon high speed, it's good on one street, but not on the next street over. So it's unpredictable. But the Sprint mid wave seems to be the one that is pretty much faster than LTE. If you picture this, having all these nodes all over the place so it can always have a good connection everywhere. And that's what makes like an autonomous car possible, to always have that information right at its steering wheel, let's say. I don't think it's here yet, but they're selling products for it. So I think it's preemptive right now. It's a selling point. I don't know. I don't need it until it comes out. If you're living in New York, it'll be there a lot sooner than it will be out at this trailer park.
Yeah, Ed, what are your thoughts about 5G? I know some of them now say they're only operating on specific corners. Some, are more throughout this entire city.
Yeah, and one of the other problems with 5G they're having too is they don't penetrate buildings and objects well, depending on which carrier you're using. And Jeff's right, the standards are all over the place. Verizon does seem to have a very robust system, but it's not everywhere. You have T-Mobile and Sprint, they have theirs, AT&T theirs, and I just don't see the consistency in it yet. So, but I did read the article that you had put out. Half the article was about how 5G is not going to affect our health, which I found interesting because I think we've all seen rumors about that running around the news for the past 6 months.
And the one thing you will need 5G for eventually is autonomous cars. And Serena, you recently took a survey about autonomous vehicles.
You're going to need way more than 5G for an autonomous car.
10G?
Are you talking about 5G as in the network or as in $5,000?
No, I read that it's going to be way more than $5,000. I read that 5G is actually crucial to helping autonomous cars.
That makes sense. I mean, they have to have some sort of network to connect to. Yeah, I wanted to kind of chat with you guys and see what you thought, because I did take a survey that was specifically targeted to blind and visually impaired individuals in our community. And it was asking a lot of interesting questions about, like, would you feel safe in an autonomous car? What type of interface would you want? Like, what would make you feel safer? Like, all kinds of things that made me start thinking about it. And if anyone's ever chatted with me or seen some of the things that I post in some of the groups, I've always been all about, like, following this autonomous car technology and figuring out where it's going to be and how awesome it would be if it does become mainstream. And I'm in a place where I would totally give it a try. I definitely want to try it out. And then I think if it became more mainstream, where all of the cars that are being produced are kind of doing that self-driving thing, that only makes it more safe. But I was curious to hear where you guys stand on that. Like, would you ever try a self-driving car? Would you ever ride in one? I think, was it you, Jeff, maybe? Did you try a Lyft that was self-driving?
I was out in Vegas when Ira was out there and you could win these things. A friend of mine, two friends of mine got into the same one, and we did a podcast on it and their experiences with it. And it was just really, really cool. My honest opinion about it is it's going to come. It's going to be here. I don't know when, but it'll be here.
Would you use it, Jeff?
Of course I will. I mean, I use a train and I can't see the conductor driving. He might be sitting there texting, who knows? But you're really relying like a train relies on tracks. We're saying that these vehicles will have these virtual tracks just by, computer. And so what 5G does is it needs a lot more points of contact. So it keeps on handing off to the next, to the next, to the next like that. So it has the best. It's like you moving closer to your router if you're too far away from it. So you're going to have these points of contact. And that's why they have to put so many of these, I'll call them beacons, but everywhere, just like indoor navigation. But this will have to be peppered all throughout the cities. And I'm sure they're going to test some cities and get it going really good. But what happens when you leave the upstate New York or the other side of the mountain there in Colorado, who knows?
Wasn't Luke Skywalker using 5G when he destroyed the Death Star?
Probably, yeah. Because I remember he put his controls down. So, Ed, autonomous vehicles, I would love them here in New York. That way the driver would never talk to me.
Or you to him. So, yeah, I don't know. I think autonomous vehicles will be here. I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I still think we're probably 5 to 10 years out. But I think a day will come 20 years from now or 25 years from now where people don't buy cars anymore. You want to go somewhere, you just tap on your smart device and car pulls up outside, you jump in it, you go to the store, you come out with your grocery, the car do the same thing, car pulls up, put it in the trunk, come home, takes off, and it's gone, and especially in like major urban areas, I could see that.
That's a cool concept.
The day I could talk into my Apple Watch and say, "Kit, come get me," that's when I buy into the autonomous cars.
Well, it's definitely going to be fleets are going to have these vehicles.
Yeah. You're not going to just own it.
It's something just like you use an Uber. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same way for us to get an Uber or a Lyft or something like that. But these pods, these vehicles, these mechanisms that actually transport us from place to place will be there. And it'll just bill you. You just get in the thing. You're being billed. You get out. You're paid,
Yeah.
And it'll be great for self-distancing as well.
Self-distancing?
Keeping away from yourself.
You distance yourself from yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Self-distancing.
Brian, sometimes you have to get out of the way of yourself.
That's true. Wherever you go, there you are. Mm-hmm. Remember that.
That's a heavy-duty statement. I love that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. We're all watching a lot of streaming content now. We've discussed the multitude of different streaming services, but I don't really think we've touched a lot on where we are watching these devices besides our homes, obviously. I have the Amazon Toshiba Fire TV in all of my rooms that I watch stuff in. And I really love the device. I think it's absolutely fantastic. They sell them on Amazon. They've really come down in price, and they have different sizes and everything. They might not have the high-def audio port that a lot of your smart TVs have, but obviously it has voice view built into it. It's like using a Fire Stick. So, Serena, what are you using to watch your content on? What hardware are you using these days?
So I do use my iPad, and do not ask me what generation it is. I don't know. I got it for my birthday, and there's too many to figure out.
What generation is it?
Happy
Good job following directions.
to you.
So I watch things on my iPad, but we have a couple of Apple TV 4th generations that we stream everything on. We're actually in the market for another one because we had an old, I think it was like a second generation that is just becoming very unusable. It's not loading the movies correctly and things like that. Despite the remote complaints that Jeff has, I like the remote other than the size of it. I think it's tiny and we can easily lose it in our house. We've never completely lost it, but it's been lost for some few hours before. But I actually like the Apple TV because I like how many apps you can download onto it and customize it and really watch what you want to watch.
Yeah, and that's interesting you mentioned that because that is one issue I am now seeing with my older Toshiba Fire TV. I keep getting pop-ups that say, you're running out of space. So obviously, if you are getting a streaming hardware device, take into consideration the space configuration. I love watching things on the iPad mini. The sound is fantastic on that. So the other day, I started watching The Sopranos, and I watched one episode on my iPad mini as I was laying in my bed. Then I watched one on one Toshiba Fire TV, and another episode on another. But Jeff, while you're up there at your camper, what device hardware are you utilizing?
I'm mostly using my iPhone. I mean, I got the Stream app, and that's Comcast, Xfinity. You know, I can get television through that way through my data plan. And at home, I have the Apple TV, which is, you know, really, really good. I like that you can actually watch more than one listing if you have Hulu or if you have some other ones and stuff like that. I have the Fire Stick hooked up, but I think the kids use that more than I do. Bosch is on there, so I do use it for that. But for the most part, it's Apple TV or my iPhone, which then relates to my computer or my iPad.
And interestingly enough, the winner for Best New Technology at CES was the TiVo 4K streaming device. And the one cool feature this device does offer, now I don't know if it has the screen reader built into it like the other TiVo boxes, it takes all of your content into, like, it's the only device that actually includes Netflix. So everything comes up like you're watching it on your Apple TV where you left off and everything, which is a really cool feature. Hopefully some of these other hardware devices could eventually get that in there because there's nothing better than just clicking on where you left off and everything. So I do find it interesting that TiVo is the one that's really made the headway with combining every streaming service out there.
I feel really bad for Ed.
Why is that?
Because instead of going right to you for the final person to talk about it, he brought in TiVo.
Yeah. You just can't teach a old dog new tricks, Jeff.
No, Brian, I got to admit, TiVo's been around for a while, and you really love it, so I'm glad you have it. I really am. It works for you.
I don't have this new device. And the one thing that does annoy me about the new TiVo device, you can't access your TiVo recordings, which defeats the whole purpose, for me at least. Huh. Ed, what kind of hardware are you rocking over there way out on Long Island?
Yeah, so, back in February, we basically cut the cord. So we got rid of Cablevision. I went with Fios for internet and just got the Fire Stick with the Amazon Fire Stick remote and with YouTube TV as my main TV streaming service, Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. And that's basically it. So I'll watch it sometimes on the TV set, but I don't really see the screen that well anyway. So a lot of times I can stream all that stuff right off my iPhone as well. And I'll do that probably 60-70% of the time.
Yeah, that's great to have all these different options and everything. I noticed nobody mentioned Roku or the Chromecast or anything, but I do believe those are both accessible as well. And an app that I've loved for a really long time that I don't think we've ever mentioned on the show is the Internet Movie Database. This is a service that's been around for quite a long time, probably even before the iPhones. It started out as a website. They have a fantastic app that is 90% accessible called IMDB, and it's becoming even more useful these days. It started off as a great way. Anytime you want to look up a movie, find any bit of information about any movie that's ever been made, whether it's cast, trivia, awards won. And they've added a couple of really cool new features. I believe IMDb is now owned by Amazon. They now have watch lists that you could create. So I've been going through different actors where I wanted to see some of their films, and I just quickly save it to my watch list. I could star favorite actors. It's all very accessible. So it's a great way to keep track of what you want to watch. You could rate and review movies. It goes up to a 10. And a new feature that I guess has probably come out in the last year is, I think it's called IMDb Plus, maybe, or IMDb TV. And just before the show, on my Amazon Fire TV, I noticed that it said watch Zero Dark 30 on IMDb TV. And sure enough, I clicked on it. I started playing it, and to my surprise, it actually had audio description playing for Zero Dark 30, which is a movie that I plan to watch tonight. Really excited for that. And that's at least one more title than HBO has with audio description. So, Serena, I know have you played around at all with IMDb? I know you checked out the TV part. You said that they really didn't have a lot of titles with described video.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at IMDb when I'm like, that voice sounds really familiar. Who is that? Like, because I'm one that gets really distracted by that, and I can't enjoy the show until I figure it out. What actor it is. Yeah. And then I have played around with IMDb TV. And I believe the last time I looked at it, it had the Chicago stuff on it. So like Chicago Fire, PD. I don't know if it had Med. And I believe that one did have the audio description with it too. So some of the TV shows do have it, but it is fairly limited because it is a free service. So you're not going to have like the breadth and depth that, Amazon Prime's going to have or Netflix is going to have. But it is something else, just another resource in your pocket if you're looking for some free entertainment.
Yeah. And I actually have an IMDb Pro account. And that app is mostly accessible as well. Not that many of you would need it, but anytime we're booking Laugh for Sight, it's great. You just look it up and there's contact info, and I could pretty much get in touch with anyone. Ed, have you ever made much use of IMDb?
No, I've looked at it with you a couple of times in the past, but it's not something that I go to or look at because for the most part, I don't really care. I don't care what about actors and actresses and things like that. If I hear about a good movie, I'll watch it, but I really don't need to have all that extra detail.
I'm obsessed with knowing if I hear a certain actor's name, I think about who it is. And it's amazing how often, like Serena, I nail who it is and everything. I'm like, wow, it's just a weird thing I have where I hear a particular actor's voice, but that's because I'm so into film. And I'm actually also listed on IMDb, but they don't have my credits accurate. It's from a very long time ago. But tried getting them to fix it, but they would not. So, I can't believe we made it this far into the show and we forgot to tell anybody how to contact us. Obviously, you could join our Facebook group and join us live on June 22nd. You can tweet us in at Blind Tech Show. You can email us in thatblindtechshow@gmail.com, or you can now call us and leave a message at 612-367-6093. And Jeff, we've got some pretty interesting voicemails. You want to play one for us?
This is Tom from Long Island. I just want to congratulate you guys on your telephone number and your feedback opportunities. 2 weeks ago, Ed had mentioned the Sunu band about trying to social distance. That can be used in more rural areas, but I think in Manhattan, with the width of the sidewalks and the amount of people, it would be totally impossible. I also want to congratulate Brian on finding his earpiece. I know they're expensive. Take care, and I hope this show continues to be as good as it's been. It's been very helpful in these trying days with the COVID virus. Take care of yourselves, and thanks for everything. Bye.
Wow, Tom, thanks so much for the nice words. And I meant to say something at the beginning of the show. As soon as we hung up recording after the last show, Ira found that earpiece right away. It was right under my desk, hidden behind the garbage can and everything. So that was a useful service. We got a very good question in an email from Callie. She was curious, and this is a question I have seen a lot. What's the difference between iCloud and iCloud Drive? And to my understanding, iCloud is really more for when you're just living in one environment and you want to back up stuff from your iPhone just directly to the cloud, where iCloud Drive is much more useful when you have to enable it on your computer if you're using multiple devices. It's a great way for you to be able to access your desktop or document anything you save to that. Jeff, what are your thoughts about what the primary differences are between iCloud and iCloud Drive?
Sure. iCloud and iCloud Drive are two separate cloud services offered by Apple. iCloud is something that you sign in with your Apple ID on a device. If you have multiple devices, you're actually creating a network with your iCloud. Thus, when your calendars, your contacts, your documents, reminders, photos, plus a lot of apps that you have will use it to store data that you can share across from device to device. Thus, when you make a calendar event on your Mac, it'll show up on your watch. Boom, like magic. And family sharing, Find My, all that other stuff does use the iCloud as part of a network that is interlinked with all your devices. Now, when we're talking about iCloud Drive, that is similar to what you see in Google Drive or Dropbox. It's where you physically save certain items that kind of don't fit into the iCloud picture of things. So when things are operating in the background, you don't even really realize it, but it's saving it to iCloud. But if you're going to save a file, a photo, or something that you want to share with someone else, or know where it is when you get someplace and just access it, boom, there it is in your iCloud drive. And you can go find out what's in your iCloud by going into settings, and it's right there at the top. It'll say your name. It'll say iCloud. Tap on that. Then there will be a tab for iCloud. Go into there, and you can see which apps are utilizing iCloud. You can turn it on and off. But a real benefit is, like, if Safari's turned on, then you visited a site on one device, like your iPhone, and then when you get home, you open up your Mac and you can go, gosh, what was that site? Boom, you can go find it because it'll be in your history. Now, you may be wondering, well, where is my iCloud drive? There's an app called Files. If you go into Files, just swipe a couple times and it'll go into Locations and you'll see iCloud Drive. Tap on that and it'll bring you to all the folders and files that you have in there. And if your rotor is set for actions, you can flick up and down. You can find share and other actions that you can do with these files. So it's nice. It also gives you a choice to download it to your phone. So if you're going to go to someplace like, up north to the trailer, then you'll have access it and you don't have to use your data to get it from the cloud.
That's an excellent explanation of what it is. So there's your answer for the show. So Serena, we're still, most of us, sheltering at home. What have you been streaming? What have you been reading?
What have I been streaming? I did not prepare for this question, even
I
though it's
asked
the
you the
question
question
that we ask every single time. Let's see. I'm still watching Defending Jacob because I haven't quite finished
The
that.
Wire Season 1.
Yeah, you knew it. We are very slow with that. I have like 50 jobs now, so it's a little harder to find time to do the streaming.
Wow, why don't you leave some for the rest of us? Okay, that was quite interesting. Not really, but Ed, which unbelievably long book are you reading? What are you streaming?
Okay, so I just finished watching last week The Last Kingdom on Netflix, which takes place back in 800 AD in England, with knights and King Alfred and all that, and Wessex. And I just finished this morning Edward Rutherford's book about New York, which is, historical fiction. So, and moving on.
Brian.
Yeah. Well,
I remembered what I'm streaming.
Oh, I thought you were actually asking me what I was streaming. Excuse me. So what are you streaming?
No, one show we just finished was Upload on Prime Video.
How is that? That's on my
list.
list.
So good. And it's probably part of the reason that the automated cars were on my mind, because it's a futuristic thing. Not even that far in the future. I feel like it's I think it's only like 2023 or something.
Next week.
And this doesn't give anything away. It's just about what would happen if you could upload yourself before you passed away to basically this software developed AI environment type thing.
Ooh.
It's really interesting, and it got renewed for season 2, and it has audio description.
We would know what's happened at WWDC by then.
Maybe.
2 WWDCs.
Check it out, though. It's great. But what are you streaming, Brian?
I have still been getting through Breaking Bad. I'm up to season 4. I've got The Good Fight with audio description thanks to a friend, and I started the first season on that. One thing that I enjoyed last night that I was watching, ESPN, they refuse to air anything with audio description, but their 30 for 30 documentary series, if you're missing sports, they've put out some really good new ones recently. The whole series is fantastic. They're constantly replaying them. The ones I watched yesterday were, they did a 4-hour one on Lance Armstrong. No contrition, not a nice guy, but it was fascinating. And they also did one on Bruce Lee, so that was really cool. So streaming those, still listening to Talking Sopranos, watching The Sopranos, The OC, that sort of stuff. So tons of great content out there. Jeff, while you're up in the woods, are you just going to be thinking? You can't watch the news, so what are you going to be streaming?
No, I'm actually using the internet right now.
Is that a bird or an airplane, Jeff?
That's not mine.
Or an autonomous vehicle.
Yeah, already.
That's Ed's place.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
Autonomous campers.
It's Underdog. What I've been doing lately is watching some YouTubes. I've been doing some homework. I finished up looking at some trailer stuff and some extra additional stuff that people do with their trailers, their space, and it's really cool because people actually open up their cupboards and show how they utilize the space. My point is, if you want to do something educational and look up stuff, YouTube is really great. Just type in a few things and you can get going on something, and a lot of people have, little do-it-yourself type of people are out there Good stuff.
Cool, that's great.
I was going to stream the Plumawkers, but you spoiled it for me. So.
I didn't spoil it. Ed spoiled it, giving away, episode 2 and everything.
Well, it already got canceled, so we're all...
I heard it's not picked up for season 2, the Plumawkers. Well, join us live June 22nd on the Facebook Live, 9 p.m. East Coast.
21st?
No, 22nd.
22nd.
Don't confuse the listeners.
Just trying to get...
In the Facebook group.
He just wanted to get something wrong.
No, we double check. I'm fact checking.
Fact
Trey's
check.
not available.
Yeah, we haven't had any fact checks on this episode, so...
Just right there.
Everything's
Thank
right.
you. It's the 22nd, Monday.
That's...
Yeah, so you just... You
Just reconfirm
You messed
what I'm
him up
saying.
for
3,
no
2, 1,
reason.
Brian.
No, I have a difficult time getting through sentences. So, June 22nd on the Facebook Live, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Jeff time, 7 p.m. Colorado time, 6 p.m. West Coast time. Sorry, England, you'll have to catch us the next day. You can email us in thatblindtechshow@gmail.com, tweet us in @blindtechshow, or call us in at 612-367-6093. And for now, we are out.
You forgot to mention the Facebook group.
I mentioned the Facebook Live.
But you didn't say it was in the Facebook group.
You gotta know where to go. They gotta know
Enter
where
in
to
the
go.
search box, That Blind Tech Show on the Facebook. How? You happy now?
That still isn't accurate. I am not happy.
Why is that not accurate?
Go ahead, Serena. Serena, where can the people find the live show?
Please join us in our That Blind Tech Show Facebook group, which is where we will be live on June 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern.
I said that.
Thank you, Serena.
No, you didn't.
I did too. Go back to the recording. Jeff,
Did he say
Brian?
anything about the Facebook group?
I said Facebook Live.
That's not the same thing.
If the listeners, it's the same group. It's the same. They have
But
to
you
go to the
didn't
group.
say it was in the group.
Fact check.
'cause
Fact check.
There's a difference
Fact check.
between a Facebook page and a Facebook group.
I'm just going to say this one time. Serena, you're always right.
Of course I am.
Why do you kiss
I
up
heard
there?
it on the last show.
Yeah. Oh,
No, I heard it on the last show.
That's factually accurate.
Yeah, she's always right. Now we're going to make cookies, right?
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the
reality of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter @blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, Blind Abilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.